Okay, here we go. Right, first of all, for the camera and for anybody watching this later on, very good morning. My name is Daniel Matthews. Thanks for joining us here today. Hi, Carol, good morning.
Hi, Daniel, how are you?
I'm very well, my lovely. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good. Bit grey here, but I thought I'd pop the silver tears on and all be fun. So,
Well, you look fantastic. You look absolutely gorgeous. So,
thank you, gorgeous.
pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'll be introducing, obviously, us properly, and I see a couple of people are joining us as we speak. And I was just saying, for the sake of anybody watching this back on camera later on, as well, that obviously we are recording this and we are live. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give it a few minutes to see who joins us. Good morning, Georgina, and we've got a Jay as well. If you have webcams on, don't be shy. We're all friendly here. So feel free to pop up, say hello. You're not forced to put your camera on, but it's up to you. So do feel free to come and say hello and introduce yourselves. Who have we got so far?
I'm Darren.
Hi, Darren. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, very good. Yes. Can you hear us okay? I was just about to ask everybody that as well.
Yeah, I'm perfect.
Fantastic. Where are you from, Darren?
I live in Suffolk, and me and Serena work together. I sort of mentor her. So we've been doing that for a couple of years.
Okay, she has talked about you actually as well. All good.
Excellent.
and yeah, she's mentioned you're doing that. So it's brilliant. Nice to meet you virtually, of course. But that's awesome. So yeah, welcome to the group today. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Oh, we've got Georgia as well.
Hello.
Hello, Georgia. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So yes, hello everyone. Good morning.
Yeah, although my name says Team Robinson for some reason on my Zoom thing, I'm Carol from One of a Kind Club, but I also am part of the Her Business Revolution team as well, but wanted to pop on and say hi to everyone virtually. So good morning.
Absolutely. We thought it would be good if Carol comes on and tells everybody a little bit about herself, her business, and what she does for her business as well today. And so we're going to be doing that shortly. We'll give it a few minutes to see if anybody else joins us, and then we'll get started. So today's pretty simple, really. We're just going to sort of briefly go through a little bit about the business and what we do, and it's really, really simple because I really believe that this business speaks for itself. And in the traditional sense of what the membership and the business offers, we basically can feed loads of information to everybody for ages and ages. And I always have a little bit of a strategy where I often think about how it sounds a little bit like a traditional salesperson would come along and sell you a product, which is great, and you want the information. You also find, though, sometimes a lot of feedback I've often had, and a lot of times people will often come along and say, it's great to kind of know the information and see it, but sometimes people like to see it for themselves. So what we encourage is for people to go on the website and on the social media and everything, and they can email with any questions and everything, because there is quite a lot of detail and there's a lot to cram into in the space of about an hour and a bit. And so we wanted to try to hopefully put everything together nice and simple, so everybody can go onto the website, everybody can go and check out all our pages, you can get all the information, and then myself, Carol, our founder Serena, we'll talk a little bit about in a moment, and the business itself. And we're all here to support everybody and what we do or what we offer and what you can get for it. So hopefully you might be interested, and there will be time for any questions with myself or Carol as well. And so yeah, so I think we'll get started. If anybody else joins us, obviously we can introduce them and get started and everything. Just to let everybody know, this is being recorded. We always record our meetings online. So the first thing I'm a little bit curious to ask, I thought it'd be nice to know, how's everybody been going through the whole lockdown thing? It's been a few weeks. Things are starting to ease slightly, especially at this end. How's everybody going? Darren, I'll come to you first.
Well, funny enough, I was in New Zealand when it all kicked off. I was going on holiday for 5.5 weeks. 2 weeks in, we made the decision to fly home because we were talking about Australia closing their airports and everything. And so we came home, and obviously came home to a little bit of a different country. New Zealand only had a handful of cases.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate enough I gave my business up probably about 7 years ago, and started mentoring and working with kids in care and also students in academies as a volunteer. So other than continuing some of that online, I'm pretty much doing, apart from getting out the house, I'm pretty much doing what I normally do anyway. So
really,
I feel for a lot of other people. I'm lucky. I've got my horses at home. I've got land. I've got everything. It's a normal day for me.
And you're in such a beautiful part of the world as well. It's so lovely down there.
I'm really spending a lot of my time mentoring as many people as I can. I've written a book, and I've given away a lot of my books free online to a lot of people. And hopefully it's trying to motivate them in this difficult, challenging time, really.
Absolutely.
Where can we find the book, Darren?
Okay, so my book is called Dream, Create, Believe, Achieve. There's one.
Yep.
So it's available on Amazon, or I can, if you want the hard copy, I can give you a signed copy, not a problem. Just message me. Or if someone's struggling and they can't afford money or whatever, I'm sending them a free book link anyway, so they can read my book. It doesn't.
That's really lovely.
As many people. I was lucky enough the other day. This is quite weird. I'll do the short version. I was actually chatting to Matt Goss from Bros.
Yeah.
I was following him, and all of a sudden he had all these people on. He was trying to help them. They had a few mental health issues, or they had challenges with the lockdown. And he's in Las Vegas, and I just made a comment. I'm happy to give away my book free to any of your viewers. And then he gets me live on his video. So I'm talking to him, and then afterwards I've got 100 new followers. Wow. And I'm up till 1 o'clock in the morning sending them all my link to my book before I have to go to bed. So it was quite exhausting, but gave me a touch of what it's like to be a celebrity for 5 minutes.
And I think it's all about commenting. It's all about, it is what it is, and if you don't try, you're never going to know. So
exactly that, absolutely.
Yeah, and I want people to read my book. It's not for me. For me, it's not about the money. It's about people being inspired. And that's what I'm doing.
That's really, really cool. And it's so funny because my next thing I was going to say, I suppose I could have done this in kind of 2 questions in one sort of thing, was of course saying how things have been for everybody individually, and go on to saying if you'd like to introduce yourselves and actually tell us a little bit more about what you do as well. So you kind of obviously have done that there, Darren. So you've written your books there and everything. And what was your initial job then? You've been
so basically I spent 23 years in business. I joined a company in Dis. They were going nowhere, turning over, treading water. I was sort of inspired them to evolve the business. And by the time I left, we were turning over nearly 400 million a year. Wow. And we were the largest audiovisual company in the world. They're now about 700 million. So they're still going from strength to strength. I decided to write a book because I believe that with hard work and determination, anything's possible. And I just want people to be inspired. And some of the comments I've got back off my reviews so far, people saying it's the best business book they've read. It improves the way you think and everything like that. It's just that says it all for me. And that's the reason why I did it. And I do, as I said, I volunteer my time for care leavers and kids in school. So that's really a bit about my background. So
that's fabulous. Thank you very much for that. Do you know, it's really interesting. I've actually just started getting into publishing myself, because when I'm not doing this, I guess you could say, I do a lot of work in music and theatre, and I do a bit of work in corporate business. And my initial role is basically within media and communications. I produce and do a lot of promotions. And an area I was very keen to explore and kind of get into a little bit was actually publishing. And through a friend of mine, I've recently started doing that and been working with a couple of clients on some projects that we're hopefully going to get out as well. So it's really interesting. So we'd love to touch base with you at some point and talk a little bit more.
Slightly off piste, it was Serena, who obviously is behind this, that actually published my book for me on Amazon, and she's now working
absolutely.
Creating an inspirational app as well with podcasts and stuff. So I work very closely.
Do you know what would be brilliant as well then, Darren? What we'll do, if you don't mind, and obviously we're all able to do this, on the screen there you'll see at the bottom there's a little chat section. If you click on that, you can put details in of contact details. So of course, part of this, as I'm sure you'll all know, like any network meeting, you swap. If we were face-to-face in a venue, we'd be swapping business cards and all the rest of it at some point and pitching what we do, which is kind of the point. We want to kind of do the same thing virtually as much as we can. So feel free, if you don't mind, Darren, to pop any details you'd like to. And if you've got the links, of course, available, as Carol was asking where you could get them, and that'd be great. I would love to read them myself. That'd be fantastic. So if you don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
And who wants to go next? I've got Georgina next on my screen. If you'd like to unmute yourself and just let us know a little bit about you, where you come from, and what you do.
So hi, my name's Georgia. I currently work in London. Yeah, honest, don't worry either. I currently work in London, but I mean out in Marlow at the moment, and I'm an assistant advisor. So I mean, we're very busy. Everyone's needing financial advice during the coronavirus, what they need to do, having a plan in place, especially with lots of people being made redundant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. And so you work in London, do you, as well?
Yeah, so I work near Bank.
Okay.
The same as Mimi. So Mimi's also an assistant advisor.
Oh, right. Fabulous. That's cool.
Yeah. They're currently doing exams.
Oh, wow. What firm do you work for, Georgia?
Financial lifestyle management. So it's a partnership with St James's Place.
Okay, I worked in financial services marketing for.
Oh, did you?
As part of my career, so worked for Team Spirit, which is a financial services agency, and so really know the area. Really, I lived in London for 20 years, and it's amazing. So it's a really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad we can't be in the office at the moment. I definitely miss seeing people.
Yeah,
it is really. I think it's one of those things. It's just you miss the buzz of being in London, but it's also partly enjoying being at home and not.
Yeah, I know, enjoying the long walks
anymore.
Countryside.
Fabulous. Absolutely. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, brilliant. Oh, thank you for that, my lovely. I really appreciate it. And is it Abby? I have Abby next on my screen.
Yes, it is.
Hi there. Can you hear us?
Have I frozen? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I think
frozen actually, because the video.
I think it's frozen.
Abby, if you can hear us, if you want to just log out and then click back on the link again, you'll probably come back through that way. If that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, yeah, just the video.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bad connection. Maybe you might want to try logging out and logging back in.
She's back again. I can see the lovely smile.
Oh, yes. I see it.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
All right.
Back.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so my name's Abby. I'm the founder of Soul Medicine, author of Nature's Medicine for the Soul, and I'm a holistic health and lifestyle coach. So very much about all things from nature's medicine, anything to do with how we can do things naturally to really help ourselves kind of align in mind, body, spirit connection. That's where I'm at.
Wow. And are you London based as well?
I'm down in West Wickham, which is sort of the border of Kent, but really I'm London based, and prior to where we were now, I would do lots of kind of live holistic workshops and things like that. So yeah, I've just had to learn how to bring things online and do my best to do what I was doing face to face, but more from a distance in front of a screen on Zoom. So it's been a learning experience, to say the least, but all is good.
I think it's amazing how like everyone's got in front of the camera. People who didn't want to do like Facebook Lives or like Zoom calls, or all of a sudden you're like, I have to be there. So amazing. I used to lived in Sydenham for a very long time. So I know well. So southeast London.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous! Thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. Okay, we've Jane. We've got Jane on here as well. Can you hear us okay?
No, she's just on a call. She's just on a work call. She said she'll join shortly.
Yeah, okay, no problem. That's absolutely fine. In that case, Carol, over to you. If you want to tell everyone a bit more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I don't particularly like doing this like elevator pitch, although I'd worked in advertising and because it's quite an interesting story. But yeah, I'm Carol. I worked in advertising and marketing for 20 years, lived in London, worked on really big clients from Jaguar and Land Rover to to HSBC, to Barclays, to financial advisors, relaunched a massive investment company, did lots of different things, and got towards my 30s, although people keep on thinking I look about 25, but now I am actually 41. Basically decided that I was kind of sick and tired of doing the 60, 70 hour a week working for someone else in advertising. I'd had my second child. I decided to move to Norfolk from London because of it's such a creative and independent city of Norwich. And in my craziness of like in the middle of the night whilst looking after my daughter, I decided that I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to run my own business and wanted to work the hours that I wanted to do about being around children. So I've got a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old now. I am a mumpreneur. And I basically set up One of a Kind Club, which is all about jewellery which inspires confidence. So sometimes we've all had our ups and downs and had our bashes to life, and actually we need to believe in ourselves a little bit more. So I used to put on a pair of earrings or put on a necklace to basically give myself a bit of extra confidence and lift. And so and I'd been making jewellery for about 15 years for friends and selling a bit and pieces online, but not very much. And so actually just thought it's never too late. So turned 40, launched the business, and been running it for about 9 months now. So it's been an interesting time because from a perspective of it's a new business, so I'm still learning every single day about what I do. I'm using the skills that I have from a social media perspective. I've built my own website, which is at One of a Kind Club, and www.oneofakindclub.com. And it's all about empowering women, really. And it's about giving them the confidence. We've all grown up in this kind of like mean girls society where everyone's supposed to be like an amazing, perfect person. And actually we're just real people. And that's what my brand values are about. So I make affordable jewelry to make people feel good. And I think the thing from how has the kind of pandemic affected me, I think the world of supporting small businesses is a lot stronger than it was. The high street is not as successful as in terms of, I don't know whether everyone's hearing the news about like Kids and Closing and Debenhams closing and people going into administration, whereas actually the support for small business is amazing. People want that feel good factor. So I've been doing quite well, as long as the fact that I'm also homeschooling 2 children now, which is interesting because I'm not a natural born teacher, and that's why I'm not a teacher. But there's also a massive rise in virtual world in terms of there's probably about 15 different virtual makers markets that are out there that have basically bringing the whole small business community together, which is amazing. So I've had to adapt. I'm not working the hours I was working because I'm also homeschooling, although my children are with my husband at the moment, just in case you think I've put them in a drawer or something for this. They are being
in the other room.
They're in the other room here, but so yeah, it's been challenges. And one of my very good mentors, which is a lady called Jade at Flashweb, she basically said that it's all about being on the corona coaster of life at the moment, in terms of it is a roller coaster, but we've just got to do
absolutely true.
It is what it is. So, and I will stop talking in a minute and listen to everyone else, because I do like to talk, as those of you who know me. But I'm a member of Her Business Revolution. About 6 months ago, met the lovely Serena and Davina, who are massive supporters, and they are part of my tribe, and they're just amazing in terms of their support they've given me. Although I've worked in advertising and marketing and launched really big businesses and know what my true brand values are about, it's about some of the courses that they offer, and especially the Elite program at the moment is very much about actually truly believing in what your brand is about and how you go about there. And even the networking opportunities are great, in terms of I've sold my membership worth in terms of jewellery to other members in networking. So it's it pays for itself from a networking perspective, which is why I wanted to really get more involved with empowering women. Sorry, Darren, empowering you as well. But, and sorry, Daniel. It's not
not at all.
A girl power. I think obviously we do have men involved with it, but it is about having that support network. And there, being an area event manager down here in Norfolk and Suffolk, I really wanted to spread that joy here. And we're organising this amazing online expo, which I'll come back to and talk about later. But it's a really good team of people, and we've been really amazing with our virtual support, as well as actually, although I do miss them actually having a cup of coffee in reality, but we've been having cups of coffee and wine virtually as well.
Absolutely. So what we'll do then, I tell you, it'll be really, really cool, Carol. Obviously, again, if you want to pop any details, so everybody has that, because again, one of the great purposes that we do is we love to get people networking, pitching what they do, any ways that you can have potential support, you name it. It's all about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk just briefly a little bit about the business, and perhaps Carol as well. It would be lovely if you don't mind letting us know from your perspective, and I'll explain why for everybody obviously being here, and for those watching it back on the video later perhaps too. So Serena had founded Her Business Revolution in 2005, I think it was. She obviously put the business together for the purpose where, yes, the slogan is it's aimed at female entrepreneurs, okay, which is true. The first thing she said to me was, I'd love to know what it's like. There's two sort of aspects to it, really. First of all, know what it was like from a male's perspective, who was interested and was intrigued by the business and said, you know, could I get involved? And as luck would have it, she was looking for an area manager for London. About a year ago, at the time, I was just moving down to London from the north of England. I used to live up in Leeds. And I thought, this is a brilliant opportunity. The other thing she said, she put the point across straight away. I'm sure as males, Darren will obviously sort of get this, and hopefully everybody will appreciate. The first thing she said to me was, she used the term, I'm not sexist. It's not about gender as such. It's aimed at the female entrepreneurs because of the way it's set up, but the business itself, we don't discriminate against age or sex or religion or racism or anything like that. There's none of that involved, you see. So yes, it's aimed at female entrepreneurs, but you'd be surprised how many male entrepreneurs will suddenly appear and people in business and say, look, what can I do? So for example, the first video that I did a few weeks ago, as lockdown began, and I'd been working from home and kind of getting prepared, and I thought, oh, you know, we'll see what happens. Well, it happened, but we were very lucky because Serena and I did a meeting like this and said, what we'll do is we'll use this opportunity to test how things go online. And we did a video that ended up kind of just being us kind of talking to each other about the business, but letting people say, if we share this later, people can have their sort of comment on it and say what they think and get information. But we were really surprised and delighted to find that we the joy of being online with everything going on. And nothing beats being face to face. So yes, we're going to have to face that whole self-distancing and all that. When it comes down to it, though, you can't beat actually being able to basically be in a venue, be all together as a group and all that. But we have found that online, we were very much able to reach a wide audience. And to our surprise and delight, we actually ended up reaching, somebody joined us last time from Kenya, a lovely young man called Alex. And we explained all about it to him. And the first thing he said was, I'd love to talk to my partner about this, and to my sisters and several friends. So the word is being spread of what we're able to do. And I refer back to how it doesn't matter about gender and everything you can think of. We're a really fun, exciting group that deals in the best of what you can have. So we aim to show people the right strategies, the support, whether it's in business as much as personal life. Somebody popped up the other day and said, you know, I'm much like Carol was talking about, I've got my kids at home, I'm homeschooling, I'm trying to do my business at the same time, things are challenging, etc. What can we do? It's all about having that support, being there for each other. Now, this might sound slightly hypocritical with everything going on at the moment, but there is, of course, the social aspect of things. We don't know what the uncertain times are going to be for the future, but we hope that we can slowly progress to getting whatever normality that may be and whatever the future holds, and we can adapt to it as we've done, again, being online. There's also much of the training involved. So if there's particular areas, and with contacts as well, we always, I always try, because I'm kind of like the sort of middleman with what I do in my work. And I'm always the guy who tends to very much introduce people. And it's great when you get to know people like Darren, for example, and go, if someone's interested in publishing and wants to read books on business and be inspired and everything, there's a contact, there's a name. These are the kind of examples, basically. So it's what we do. Now, because the company is kind of structured the way it is, if you're okay to do so, Carol, and you don't mind, I think it'd be really, really nice to hear it from kind of your perspective, especially with you recently joining us. First of all, as previously mentioned, as a member, and of course, you've now come on board as one of our area managers as well. So why don't you touch base a little bit about that from your perspective and what we kind of do, if that's okay?
Yeah, so I went along to a couple of the actual physical, like when we could physically do networking, and it was really interesting to sit around having a coffee around with a group of people. And we had a focus on a lady who's a makeup artist and how she talks through her brand. But it felt more, I've been to so many different networking things that you all get talked at by organisations, and actually I found it really interesting because it was just it was a normal lady who just talked about her business and talked about her passion and how she was different and the challenges she had in terms of being slightly different in the way that her approach was. And I just felt really welcomed and supported. And if you've ever got, and then I joined the Facebook page and saw the fact that people were sharing their advice about how to get more followers on Instagram, or how to, what's like from an accountancy perspective as a small business, and just picked up a few bits and pieces and went along to the physical meetings, and just became, sounds really cheesy, part of them. I just felt welcomed rather than another bum on seat, and it was just felt part of the family. And so the ladies there were really lovely. They just like chatted away, but actually gave you that real added value. And when you go on to look at I think I downloaded the business planner, which is a free thing on the website, and it gave a real structure rather than, I think for a lot of people kind of going online, you find so many different bits of information and so many different conflicted bits that it actually was a step-by-step guide. So I thought actually these are kind of really important things, and I'm always a big, massive learner, so I always love to be involved with things, but also it's about sharing your knowledge as well. So a few bits and pieces in terms of people weren't sure how to do things, and I was like, actually you can just do this and that and the other. And even like Davina this morning teaching me how to do like bold on WhatsApp and italics. Yes, the little things compared to actually kind of a business strategy point of view. And Serena's really kind of made me focus on who my target audience is, and the fact that actually it is about, part of my not wanting to be in front of the camera is because I've worked in 20 years in marketing and advertising where I've been behind the camera and organising things, whereas actually your brand really is about yourself. So I made that kind of change and then went on to the membership. I've learned loads about myself as well as the business, which I think it's not just about being a high-powered businesswoman. It's about actually what makes you different, and people buy from people. So I've learned a lot about that. The networking is great. The virtual love is amazing, especially in like her business group, which is off the page, and you just learn so many different things from different people and from different perspectives as well, in terms of, I might be a 41-year-old mum, but there's some really like people who've had like amazing successful careers who they're just normal people, and we're all normal people, and actually just it's that caringness as well as it being that kind of strategic perspective. So I've taken over from the previous area event manager here in Norfolk and Suffolk, really because I wanted to share that the business kind of community and support here in this part of the world, as well as, because much that I love London, there's a lot of networking events in London and a lot of cool things to do and a lot of things like that, whereas actually I think we need to kind of share that around the countryside as well. So no disrespect to Norfolk and Suffolk, but there's a lot more things going on in London which I do miss, I must admit, at times, but there's also a lot of buzz and cool things here in Little Norwich as well. So
yeah,
I'd love to hear kind of like from Georgia and Abby in terms of the things that kind of you'd like to know from a perspective of, I've been through the journey, and what kind of, is there any thing that you're really kind of going, actually I really want to know about this, or how it works, or
I was going to ask if anybody had any questions. Sorry. And also as well, from again, what's really, really interesting, and I think it works nicely for us as a business, we don't want to, right, I'm going to use the term, for lack of a better word, sales, right, which is, yes, there is that aspect of enticing people to join the business, join the membership and everything. And yes, let's be honest, we go out there and we sell this to people. However, we want to show that it's not just about taking money and having a membership. We want to show that it's what it's worth and what people get. And one of the approaches, and Carol, you just touched base on it actually, so I'm going to jump over to that as well, because one of the things we always do, call it a little bit of a strategy if you like, is actually knowing that we don't look at the business of going, this is kind of what you get for the membership. What we actually will often say, and Carol's mentioned, is to know what you actually might, in this case, be looking for potentially, what you kind of want to gain yourselves, and how we can almost help you, if that makes sense, and everything. So so please feel free to, for anybody who wants to jump in and let us know, and if you have any thoughts.
Yes, I mean, with me, I'm still quite early on in my career, so I haven't done my exams yet. So I think hopefully the way that SJP works is that you go in as an assistant advisor, and then once you've taken your exams and followed your mentor, you then become self-employed. So it's kind of making that scary jump from being employed by a company and then self-employed, where we don't actually know where the industry is going to be after the coronavirus. So, finding new clients is hard. So I guess mainly meeting similar people where you can help. I think the main thing that we kind of strive on is tax efficiency. But yeah, it's still kind of learning about that. I'm still quite new to the industry. So I guess just kind of everything really. Just learning skills.
What stage are you with your exams? How many?
So yeah, I've done my first exam. I was meant to be on exam 3/4 now, but they've all been cancelled, which is really annoying.
How's that going in this virtual world? So
yeah, I mean, because they're all in a computer centre, it's not very hygienic for using computers that
Yeah.
other people have used. So I mean,
Yeah.
I just got my email yesterday saying my next exam's also been cancelled, which I mean is a bit frustrating, because you know when you have your timeline set in your head, this is when I want to be self-employed, and just keeps getting pushed back.
Are there things online available to do online for you at home or anything at all then?
Unfortunately not. I keep arguing for it. Like, yeah, I'm like, come on, you can't just not have anyone sit exams for a year. Universities are managing it, schools are managing it.
I know,
it's
it's
crazy.
And you'd think an organisation like SJP would have kind of the ability to be agile in that way.
I mean, it's not, the qualifications aren't through SJP, they're through CII.
Yeah, I think you'd be able to think that they'd be able to put pressure on.
Yeah, exactly, because I mean, lots of people do come from SJP that are financial advisors, so it's very frustrating, but I mean, that's a really small issue in the grand scheme of things that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I think
are you getting support from your people at St James's Place?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So, because I'm still employed, I follow one advisor called Charlotte. And basically what we're doing at the moment is I'm mainly focusing on the marketing side, which is all through LinkedIn, trying to find new clients that way. But I mean, getting someone to read a message is really hard, let alone getting someone to agree to a call when, I mean, this is a really hard time. And as soon as you say financial advisor, people think investing. That's not always the case. It's like consolidating your pensions, making sure you're using allowances, making sure that you've got things to fall back on. Say if you get made redundant. So our client, for example, we were meant to be having a meeting with her last week, and she pushed it to this week because she got made redundant. So then it's just making sure that she can use all the stuff that we've been telling her to save for to fall back on for the next couple of months while she's not going to be getting a salary. So that's mainly what we're trying to do at the moment.
This is where contacts comes into play as well, because I actually know a senior partner at St James's Place as a friend. So if you're not finding things are going really well, then I can always put you in touch with this person. His name's Ian.
That would be great.
All right. So
thank you. Yeah, it's just
exactly what this is all about. You know, as well, I have to say, with the thinking about it, listening to what you were saying there as well, it's straight away, you may ask the question, of course, you might be thinking, obviously, as we are talking about what we do in our business and everything, obviously what we want to do is one of the ideas, we're getting to know people, we're finding out what you obviously might want and what might benefit yourselves individually, as a group, and of course with your business, etc., and what we can offer. So with yourself, Darren's already mentioned and he's absolutely right about contacts, which is brilliant. That's right there is a great start, because whenever we're networking, we're able to swap contacts and that's kind of what it's kind of the whole point and the deal, really, is that that's the best thing to do. Now, along with that, I think it's a great example of the things that you are able to get from Hair Business Revolution in terms of support, contact-wise. You mentioned when you're, am I right to say, did you say you were self-employed?
Not yet, but when I become qualified, that's the next step.
And that's what you want to do. You want to be self-employed, do you? Which is,
I mean, there isn't an option. But yes, I would like to have my own company.
Again, as I mentioned, as Darren mentioned with contacts, and looking at the perspective of saying you can, in fact, like everything that you can think of. So while you're waiting at these uncertain times, in the cases of your courses, etc., exams and everything, there might be training and stuff that may be available to you through Hair Business, which might be beneficial. Dealing with the likes of business strategies and marketing strategies, of course, they are adapted to any kind of business, any individual. So if, like Darren, for example, you're selling a book, you're marketing that, you want to introduce it to the world, you might have a similar purpose with exactly what you do. As you go along and get qualified, you might think, well, what would the benefits of being part of something like Hair Business Revolution be? It's actually really simple, because you've got the options to be able to connect with so many people who, believe it or not, there's so many people out there always looking for financial advisors and for people who have the knowledge in that area. And we're able to offer that as through various different contacts, along with training sessions, many of the networking events such as this, where you can meet people, where all it takes, again, as Darren said, I've got a contact. Fantastic, that's the way it works. We want to connect people. We want to show lots of interest from various different areas, and it's all about growing our networks, and that's what we do. It's not just about us as a business saying, come and join us, this is what we do. It's what we offer, and it's what people can benefit from it the most. That's what's important, and I always really like to stress that. So I think there's a lot there that you would get from it. And again, I'm not just saying it for the sake of it, saying here's the membership, what do you think? I genuinely do believe that there is a lot that we can offer you, and also at the same time what can benefit you and what you can offer, not just us, but also lots of people around us as well. And various contacts come to mind of those that are always asking, you know, who can give us advice with this? Where can we find, you know, somebody in this area? So there you go. And that's kind of the whole plan, if you like, of what we want to do, you know. So
how many members do you have at the moment?
That's a really good question. Carol, do you know? And like, I'm thinking it's a lot. Is there like a more of a specific number than, like, you know, a few?
So our database is over 15,000 empowered women. We the group alone, there's over 4,000 people that are part of the group and part of the membership. And then actually for the paid membership, it changes kind of daily, but it's massively growing. So it's
totally amazing.
The group has just recently changed over to like an expo group. Can quite happily share the link. Daniel can quite happily share the link with it afterwards. And it's basically a really good, there's so many people who are self-employed, especially in the financial services industry as well. So
yeah,
actually, Carol, have you got that link to hand at all? I thought I had that somewhere. I was just looking for it.
So I'll pick it in the comment in a minute when we hear from Abby. But I was just going to say, yeah,
if that's okay.
Man, the group in there. If you want to join that, then it's just a really good way of kind of sharing information. We're doing an expo at the beginning of August, which is for members to basically showcase their work. But it'll be interesting.
Excuse me.
Come and listen to things as well in terms of seeing the kind of benefits from the group and also learning from things. I mean, I went self-employed last year, so if you ever want to kind of touch base with me as well, it is kind of
thank you
gone from being full-time employed by someone
daunting, isn't it?
20 years to suddenly going, I don't know where my money is coming from every
That's one of the scary things. Well, I was going to say before as well that taking a bit of a wild guess and everything at this point, because as Carol said, it does change and stuff how things work. But initially, I was going to say, yes, there are a few thousand members, and you'll be surprised as well how many people, like Carol and myself, may have been in business for quite a while, or may have just started or become self-employed, or might even work in a business and maybe have a side business as a self-employer as well as a freelancer. I myself came from a background in the entertainment world, which I'm still involved in. And I wanted to explore the kind of business from that entrepreneurial spirit and kind of get ideas and figure out what I could do, etc. And it's because of places that I've had, and opportunities, more accurately, I should say, I've had. And businesses and opportunities like Hair Business have given me lots of knowledge and lots of time. And people like Carol and Serena, and I'd like to include myself, we are very, very much, you know, supportive with our time. We're always there. So if you have questions, if you go off later on and suddenly go, do you know what, I suddenly thought of a question I didn't get a chance to ask, you can drop us an email. If I don't know it, then Carol probably will, or Serena will, and vice versa. And these are the things, we all manage our areas, but again, it's all about the support that we have with them strategies that work really well. So yeah, and I noticed, thank you for finding the link there, because I was just trying to look for that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Multitasking, you know, I'm going to be very sexist.
But as I was going to say, which they say men are really, really rubbish at doing. So yeah, I'll be the first one to say.
Anyway, Abby, it'd be lovely to hear from you, because it's a very different industry and holistic perspective, something that I'm quite really interested, although I love financial services as well, but I'm quite interested in your kind of approach for natural things and things being more holistic and it's so much more important nowadays than it's ever been. So it'd be lovely to hear kind of where you're at the moment and kind of what support you need, really.
Yeah, so for me, as I was saying, a lot of what I did previously, I did lots of talks and seminars and workshops up and down the country, really. And all around kind of the holistic health. They were mainly female orientated, because those were the people that were kind of drawn towards what it was that I was doing and sharing. And when kind of lockdown kicked in, I was creating a program called Empowering You. It's a holistic coaching program for women, which I've literally started. I've taken it online. I started my first online bit of a baptism of fire kind of coaching, empowering online program for women about 2 weeks ago. So it was more, I think, for me, I'm very much about sort of energy. I like to feel the synergy of the group, where people are coming from, you know, what the connections are. I guess for me, I think coming more into the online space, it's about having more exposure, knowing, I mean, I am on Instagram, I do a little bit on LinkedIn. I'm not a passionate social media person, I'll be honest. I'm on it because I feel I kind of need to be, but it's not something like, oh, you know, I love doing posts every 2 minutes. It's not really me. I've had to kind of get more involved, I guess. So it's more about, I think, learning and seeing what people, how they're growing that. A bit like Darren, because Nature's Medicine for the Soul. So when I was doing all of my live talks, I could have it there, talk about it to people, and, you know, show them kind of all the information they're going to get out of it. And I have some CDs and MP3s, and kind of suddenly, when you're not exposed or you're not in front of anybody, it's like, I'm not really sure, even though I'm there and I've got the website and all the information, I'm not really sure how to properly get it out there, if that makes sense. So for me, it's about feeling that I've got a commonality within the group that I want to be part of. Knowing that not only can kind of I learn from the group, but I've got something to give back to them as well. So it's, you know, it's a give and take, and really seeing where that kind of take me when it's all merged together.
And I think it's really important to kind of like, there's this bit of a cheesy thing, but it's like about finding your tribe and where you get that support from. And I think that was one of the reasons why I found the group. I've been to so many networking groups, I've kind of felt a little bit imposter syndrome at certain places because of not naturally fitting in with certain industries or having to kind of be fake it until you make it, whereas actually the group is just about, it's just a really amazing group of normal people who've got some amazing knowledge and skills, but they're also, if you're having a bit of a bad day, then they're there for you as well. So it's a bit of fun as well as it being educational and knowledge sharing. So completely understand. And from a perspective of you're not particularly going, oh, I don't particularly like social media, and sadly to say that I do heavily rely on it myself from a business perspective, but it's not all, but it's about joining in groups and commenting on other people's posts that means you're adding value wherever you are. So, it's not necessarily about push, sell. It's about you've got such an amazing content to talk about or amazing opinion on things, that it's about getting out there whilst you can, rather than, and it's not about doing it every 2 minutes, although sometimes I feel like I am doing that, but it's sometimes just about being consistent, and the training that you get through the Her Business Revolution really is kind of reiterates that, but it's not all about social media. So I did a pop-up shop a couple of months ago, and it was very much about, I didn't put that much on social media about it at all, and I actually just went and handed out flyers at local cafes and restaurants and bits and pieces to get more of an excitement thing, because actually the online space is so crowded.
Yeah.
Having that, where do you stand out, where are your target audience, but also working out who they are in the first place. So,
and it's a bit old school as well, which I think is really good. I think you know, when I very, very first started, and I left college in 2001, so I was 18 years old. I was a little bit naive, I suppose you could say, and kind of making my way in the world. And the first thing I did was think, you know, I've got to figure out a way of getting out there and doing what I wanted to do. And I listened to lots of people and was very lucky to work with people who I could learn from. And I've continued to do that throughout the last sort of 19, 20 years now, nearly 20 years next year since I finished college. Back in the day, for example, doing live gigs, doing live shows. I always wanted to produce, my first love being theatre and music and film. And I always wanted to produce and kind of, you know, be a part of something. Well, to take that and kind of go, how do you do it? What do you do? It's interesting how at the time, I left college 2001, as I mentioned, and this was at a time when there wasn't really much in the ways of social media. The internet was kind of just there, and we were doing a little bit of work here and there. So when I very first started, it was, if you forgive the expression, the old school of going out with posters and flyers and putting them up and saying, we're doing a live gig and this is us and we want to introduce ourselves. And the way you did that as a musician or as a performer, as a singer, actor, whatever, you'd go and showcase, you'd do talent shows, you'd do auditions. Now you've got a 10-minute show reel and tons of photos and your Instagram and everything. What's really interesting for me is, as far as social media goes, because I do use it quite a bit, but you see, I think it works for certain business. I think it works for any kind of business. But someone like yourself, Abby, like you say, might go, well, you know, is it something I need to do all the time? I think it's there for people to choose from. What I find interesting is social media came along within sort of 4 or 5 years since I left college, and going into the local shops, putting up the posters and going, oh my God, look, I've got my name there and a picture and we're going to go and there's me and my band and we're going to go and like rock out at this venue and blah, blah, blah. All of these things are great. And then all of a sudden, randomly, it just changed. And there was the likes of MySpace and all these things that people were saying, why don't you get music on there?
You're showing your age. You're showing your age, Duncan.
I'm showing my age, exactly. That is true. And all of a sudden, it was things like, hang on a minute, I've got to go and find money, and I've got to go and find a studio and record some tracks and get them on there. But by doing that, it was networking, everything people were seeing and they were listening, and all that. And that led to more. And then all of a sudden, within a couple of years later, Facebook suddenly appears from this sort of amazing young man who's fresh out of, as we call it, university over here in this country, of course, and, you know, very smart and gifted. And I'm going, by God, I wish I had his talents and could do all the stuff with computers. I don't have a clue. And I'm a bit of a tech head. I love learning about tech. I'm very much a learner in that way. So to be able to all of a sudden see all this happening, and it just exploded and became what it became.
Could I just say something to Abby?
Yeah.
Abby, I'm quite lucky. I've got I'm 55 this year, believe it or not, but I've got something that a lot of people haven't got until you get to my age, and that's wisdom and hindsight. Basically, obviously, why we were successful all those years ago and why we became successful is that we managed to evolve our business ahead of our competition. Yeah. We had the foresight to see what was happening in the world, and we managed to do it quicker than anybody else. Now, what's important for you, in my opinion, is that you create your own identity and you basically try and come up with something and keep evolving your business, moving it to an area where you are happy with. And I've actually been multitasking while we've been looking at this. So I've had a look at your Instagram. Now, for a male, and obviously I was multitasking, you can actually see from that it's a little bit, for a male looking at your bio, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, because I think it's a very female orientated, and I'm not talking for all men here, but holistic health is probably something women can relate to more than men. So I think, there is a big marketplace out there, and maybe an untapped marketplace for you to get into people like me at stages of my life where I've changed my diet, I've changed my mannerisms, because my health is now my wealth, and I want to make sure that I'm healthy moving forward, that my weight is where I want it to be, that I'm happy in myself, and all these new things that are coming into life. I don't like the word mental health. I like the word emotional health, because I think it's kinder. And I think things will evolve around to, and all these mindset changes, and you've put things like essential oils, educator, and things like that. Doesn't mean much to me. It might do to you, and it might do to some women, but I'm just thinking maybe you need a little bit of coaching, a little bit of mentoring and stuff like that, to try and have an ideas brainstorm type, to see where you can actually move your business to, and how you can actually take it to a different level, and whether that's as part of your mentoring or your coaching or your speaking, to make money that way, or whether it's through selling product, but then you've got to be mindful of why your product is going to be important to people over and above other people. So it's a bit like when drones came along. Where did drones come from? And if you could have thought about drones, and I first saw them 10 years ago, and I thought, nah, they're not going to take off. And but you don't get everything right. But these things come along, and you think, wow, if I could jump aboard this new technology, this new product ship, this new evolution. I launched something on Twitter about 8 years ago called Mentoring for Women. I've got 5,500 followers on my Twitter site for Mentoring for Women. Fantastic. I don't do it as much these days, because I've moved over to Instagram, because Instagram's more important. And I sold probably 200 books of mine on Instagram through my contacts. So it can be important, but it's like I don't really do Facebook anymore, because I've moved away, because it's just what suits you best. But it keeps changing all the time. Where did TikTok come from? I've discovered that recently, and it's driving mad. But as a 55-year-old man, but I'm just saying, these are how the world's changing, and that's how we grew. So if you can change your mindset to think a bit more laterally like this, your own identification, your own DNA is really important to you. So as I said, I will send you my link. Have a read of my book. It talks about this, makes you think differently. And if you can think in a different way to your competition, you will be, you'll be more successful. So that's what I wanted to say. Really.
Fantastic. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dan. I've got to say as well, because listening to that, and I'm always inspired by people, and it's always interesting when somebody from, obviously who's somebody a little bit older. I'm 37. I just turned 37 at the end of April, and so people sometimes obviously will look and say, well, obviously someone a little bit older and age-wise. I never really think, age is only a number and everything like that. But then, one of the things that fascinates me is people like yourself, Darren, who have, I guess, life experience, in that way, and the things that you've done, and etc. And it reminds me of something. It's a lovely little story I'd love to just briefly share with, if you'll indulge me. If that's okay. As I mentioned earlier on, my background is in music, is in theatre and performing. And I started producing about 15 years ago, and I thought that's really what I kind of wanted to do. I feel that I'm very much, I love connecting in that way. So I was when I first left college in 2001, I went to do a masterclass yeah, it was basically a masterclass with a company of Les Miserables, the musical, which, if any of you have seen it, I don't know if you might have seen this, the stage show, or if you've seen the film, and it's a really, 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 it's one of the best shows, right? Now, if you're theatre fans and you've seen it, or maybe you've seen the film, I got to meet about 11 or 12 years ago now, I got to meet one of my idols in the world.
Sorry to interrupt, Daniel. Georgia's just saying that she had to go. So
oh, no problem. I do. Right. Okay. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to email everybody later, so we'll catch up. So thank you very much, Georgia. And we'll hopefully catch up later. So yeah, so that's fine. So I was very lucky to meet one of my idols in the world of entertainment, who's best known in theatre, who is Michael Ball. And I'm sure many people know who Michael is as a singer and an actor and everything, best known for musical theatre. But when I met Michael, I was very excited to say that I had the opportunity of briefly, I haven't done the full show or anything like that myself, but one of Michael's best and well-known shows from his earlier career was, of course, launching the role and creating the role of Marius, the young revolutionary student from Les Mis. And in this masterclass that I did, I got to perform the Act 1 finale and played the character of Marius. So many years later, when I got to meet Michael Ball at one of his concerts up in Scarborough, I think it was, and we were briefly chatting about it, and I said, you know, it's what I do and everything like that. Michael on stage was performing a couple of songs from the Les Mis show and was talking about how all of a sudden now at 57 years old, sorry Michael, but it is true, but now in his 50s, he jokes about, I'm too old to play that role. That's now traditionally played by someone in between the ages of something like 18 and 22. The funny thing about it for me is that in my 30s, I had the conversation and said, do you know, it's really, really interesting because there's a 20-year age gap between myself and the lovely Mr. Ball. And he said, yeah. And I said, yes, but the funny thing is while you say you're too old to play this role, I physically can actually say that I'm too old to play this role. And I'm going, how on earth does that make sense? It's bizarre. But the reason is this character happens to be a character played by sort of 18, 22 years old. And Michael's recently done a staged concert. They finished last year. The theatre was being refurbished. And they did a wonderful all-star stage concert with Matt Lucas. You'll know TV's Matt Lucas. And a wonderful actress called Carrie Hope Fletcher, who I recommend. Now, anybody who's interested in theatre and music and things like that, these are the kind of things I always recommend to people. But I share stories that I know I'm very passionate about. But also what's really nice is the link between being where I came from and stepping into the world of, I suppose, a slightly more serious world of corporate business, learning what I need to know and kind of going, how do I adapt myself? So I always look at kind of ways of thinking about inspirational kind of stories and things that people go, oh, that's really cool. And the reason for that is I love listening. It's easy to, if it's something you can do, if you've got stories to tell, but I love listening to people. So when it comes to people like yourself, Darren, talking about life experience and where you come from and the work you've done, I find that brilliant and interesting and inspiring. And I don't just sit there going, oh, just listen like this and go, yeah, for the hell of it. I genuinely want to learn from things and kind of get that knowledge and experience. And I think that's what we're genuinely all about. And if I had to sum it up in that way, if that makes sense, I hope as well.
But I think it definitely is about, you learn from every day, you learn from different people. I learn from my 6-year-old when it comes to him telling me about how...
Can I just interrupt for a second, Carol? Sorry, Abby's just said as well in the chat that she has to go as well. Absolutely fine. Abby, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks a lot, Abby.
We'll see you soon. Yeah, cheers, lovely. Take care.
Have you guys got contact details? Because I don't see your 2 chat details on the screen here. Did Georgia leave hers as well?
Georgia, she would have left her email on the group, so we can send her the details. So on the Eventbrite link that she joined up with, we would get it there. So. Yeah,
because I've already sent my book to Abby, but I'd like to send it to you guys as well. So
that'd be wonderful. Yeah, that'd be really cool. So yeah, fabulous.
I've sent mine's at one of a kind club, so if you want to pop me on that I'd be really interested in seeing.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm going to pop my email for my myself. And what I also will do is also pop on the email for the Hair Business Revolution, so you can get obviously to that as well. Again, any follow-up questions, etc. So before we finish, what were you saying before, Carol? Do you want to finish what you were saying?
I was just going to say, we all learn from different people. So I think, however much respect I have for older people, I've learned a lot, especially in like homeschooling environments, about how different people have a different perspective on things. So it's so interesting to hear a 6-year-old's version of what coronavirus is, in terms of it's a spiky ball apparently. So but yeah. And I've written down, we've done like a coronavirus diary, which actually I'm going to do my own version of it as well, and it's just basically kind of what your outtakes of it, and it's just the answers are just amazingly refreshing from a perspective of, so actually you can learn from everyone. I was doing a bit of a PR showcase yesterday with digital mums, which is I did some training a couple of years ago about, and it was just really interesting to see the fact that everyone was so inspiring each other, and it gave me a real confidence boost. And I think that's what Her Business Revolution, especially Serena and her support for me, especially as my confidence has soared in the last year and soared in business, but it's also the reality of every day. I had a bit of negative feedback on something yesterday, but you have to learn from it and move from it. So
absolutely, that's something that I'm able to talk a lot about with people, because of course it's very, very common in the world of entertainment and performing, theatre, film, everything basically. The first thing we were taught in college, there is a lot of rejection in that business alone. So when I sort of thought, oh, what can I do when I'm very keen to explore the world and different areas? How can I overcome things without making myself, I suppose more accurately, where people can take me seriously, because I can be the kind of very much the lively entertainer, and I'm confident and happy to sort of be that person. I'm very good at adapting to somewhere where I can talk and I can be on stage, I can be in front of, even now I try to be as natural as possible. I don't know if that works. But then I've also found in the last few years, and again, this is all about confidence and growth and learning from the skills, is having the ability to adapt, to sort of sit down in a slightly more serious setting, as a more corporate setting, if you like, and kind of do that slightly more scenario of talking to people. And again, I think it's great to kind of be inspired, and if you can pass things on and inspire others. Yeah. And that's, again, something I think Hair Business is all about. For those of us left on here, we obviously were being part of it, know what it's all about, and we know what we know Serena, and we know why and what she does and everything. So hopefully we can kind of go away and share this with people. I'm going to make sure the video is available and contact details, etc. Jane, I was
just going to see whether she was actually still with us or not.
Yeah, absolutely. If she's still on the call or anything, so hopefully she can hear it. If we haven't got a chance to speak to Jane, hopefully she'll be able to watch the video back, get all the info and everything, and perhaps join us on the next one. Or if there's any questions, please feel free to get in contact. So I hope that you can hear that, Jane, as well. I've put, should I say, both my Hair Business email and my own company email on the chat bit as well. Somewhere above that, I think, hopefully, if I remember, yes, I put on the website and the Facebook page. So again, please feel free to share it, check it out if you haven't already, of course. For the sake of anybody watching the video back later on, who, if you weren't able to join us live today, watch the video back, see what you think. Again, any questions, any information, you can check out the website, our social media, all our groups, or you can come to any of us directly as well. And we're all here to help and support.
Lovely to meet you finally, Darren, as well, virtually.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, likewise.
So.
Well, it's the first one I've been on, so I've sort of met Serena probably, I don't know, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago. I was doing a presentation on pressure to a number of different people. And she was taken in by my presentation, and then she contacted me a couple of years later and said that I'm looking for a mentor. We both sort of do things in a similar way, and so I've just helped her out really, and she's helped me out with some of my stuff as well. So it's been very good.
Absolutely amazing.
Are there any top tips for small business owners at the moment?
Well, I think it's a case of, it's interesting. I heard something the other day, somebody talk about time and time management. They said, we've got 86,000 seconds or something in a day. And imagine if you had 86,000 pounds in the bank every day. And if you didn't spend it, every second that went by, you lost £1. And you've got to spend that money before the day runs out. And then the next day it resets again. What would you do? Would you bank that money, spend that money, or would you just let it waste away? And this is what we've got now. We've got so much time on our hands. What are we going to do with this time? Is it time to reflect? Is it time to change? Is it time to become a better person? What are we going to do with that time? We can just sit around watching box sets, or we can actually do something with it. And I think this is a good time to recharge our batteries, to think about what we want to do with our lives and make some changes. And so the time that we've got now could be the most important. So when we come out, we're ahead of our competition. It's all about a game. If you want to go for a new job because you've lost your job, you've got to make sure you understand that this is now a game. It's a competition. There's going to be one winner every time you go for a job, and you're going to make sure you are that winner. And even if somebody says no to you first time, no means next opportunity, and just keep knocking on that door harder and harder and harder. And I think determination, hard work, it's what I said in my book, anything is possible. So what I'd say to people right now is, you can't change the past. Imagine driving a car, you're looking through the windscreen is the future, you'll sit in the present, the rear view mirror is the past. There's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller, because we don't want to look in the past, we want to look in the future. Look in that big windscreen in front of you. That's what I'd say.
I'd love to say I actually had more time, but homeschooling 2 little kids who I do have to go to now means it's about being more efficient with my time. So I value, so enjoying being a homeschooling as well.
How many people go to bed at night and lie in bed on their phone for an hour and a half doing nothing? Imagine if you went to sleep earlier, got up earlier, and actually spent a bit more time, planned your day ahead the night before.
Exactly.
Every time you look in that mirror, give yourself a talking to. It's you that can make the difference, nobody else.
Exactly right.
And on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much for your time this morning, guys.
Yes, likewise.
And I'm going to go and teach science. So
fantastic. Enjoy.
Be careful with that Bunsen burner.
I know, exactly.
Exactly.
With everything. So.
Let's just say before we log off again, thank you so much for joining us. And for anybody once again watching the video back later on, really hope you all enjoy it. And thank you so much for Darren for all your wonderful information.
No problem.
And of course, we'll make sure as well your information and links to where you can get your books, etc., are going to be available. So we'll happily do all that. And anybody who's got any questions, etc., please just let us know. And we're always here. So thank you so much indeed. And hopefully we'll speak to you all really soon.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon. Brilliant. Cheers. Okay, fantastic. So the video is obviously still recording. Oh, look, I've got a spot right there. I'm going to cover that up right there. I look terrible right now. There we go. I'll put my glasses on. So, right. So just a quick little message from me again to say thank you very much to everybody who's joined us today. And if you're watching this later, I hope you've enjoyed it very much. I'm Daniel Matthews. Please do come, should I say, and check out our Hair Business Revolution website, our social media and all our groups. And hopefully you can join us at future meetings. So I'm sending virtual hugs, and stay safe, look after yourselves. I'll see you very soon. God bless. Take care.